Nothing like a mug of hot bovril. There's nothing in it. I'm doing a Kirk Cameron. Hey guys, your friendly neighbourhood dogger here, and I'm here to tell you a little story about myself. I promise I won't try and babble too much, but it's one story that I've been meaning to tell for quite some time. Now, to some of you guys, you may know, you may not know, but I am on the autistic spectrum. Now, when I tell people that I'm on the autistic spectrum, they tend to react in one of two different ways. It's either, oh, I had no idea, you don't seem that autistic, or, oh, now it all makes sense. I found out that I had Asperger's when I was about 12 years old. I remember it quite well. I was sat in the living room with my mum, she was ironing, and we were talking about school and how I found it quite difficult sometimes to make friends with people. And she just came out and said, well, that's because you've got Asperger's. My original thought was, oh crap, I'm going to die. Because nobody had told me anything about Asperger's or autism or anything. I'd never heard the words bandied about at all. But she explained to me that it meant that I look at the world differently to other people, and it also meant that I don't really have a filter. Now, when she started telling me all the stuff from my childhood started to make a bit of sense, because I was always getting into trouble, always getting a bit overexcited. Yeah, it just kind of put everything into perspective a fair bit. I remember on one occasion when my dad came up to me and went, "You can't tell that man that he has a big nose." And I remember saying, well, why? And I went, well, because he knows that he has a big nose. Two of the things my mum did say to me though was, one, it's not an illness, nobody can catch it from you, so don't even think about worrying about that. And two, it's not a way to get out of PE, you're still doing it. Like that helped in any way, shape or form. But anyway, that made my school years a little bit easier, because now with the knowledge that I look at the world a little bit differently, I wouldn't use it as an excuse, but it would mean that people would take that into account. I had a small group of friends, and I made friends fairly easy, but it was the fact that I was doing my own thing and going out there and experiencing what I wanted to experience regardless of what other people wanted. You know, I didn't really cave into peer pressure that much, but it meant that I was really into my music. I still am, and the people that I was close with, I became very close with. I'm still friends with one or two of them even to this day. Now, as well as my interest in music, I also discovered a love for photography. I got my first camera when I was 13 years old, and I'd take it everywhere with me, even school. I have many photos of my friends at break times and lunch times. Now, this was before smartphones or even cameras on phones for that matter. I even remember at one point taking out a camcorder, a VCR camcorder, at the end of my GCSE years just to have a little play about with my friends and see what we could come up with. When I left school, of course, that developed into more things. I used photography as a way to get to know people, as a way to meet people, because people seem to be fairly interested if you've got a nice big camera with you and they want you to take their picture for some reason. It can be a good icebreaker. Now, since moving to Birmingham, I've had to learn quite an awful lot. As a person with Asperger's, I'm one of these kind of guys that if you don't tell me the information, then I'm not going to know. We either assume something or we don't assume enough. So we can be quite, not ignorant, but kind of, I don't even want to say thoughtless, but sometimes the common sense doesn't occur to us. I remember working in a camera shop a couple of years ago, and I happened to tell the manager that sometimes I have a lack of common sense. He turned to me and said, "Why would you say that?" And I replied, "Because I have a lack of common sense." So I've had to learn from scratch things like paying bills, basically budgeting as well, because nobody told me any of this stuff when I moved up here in 2010. Now, one of the things about autism that people don't tend to tell you is sometimes it can go hand in hand with depression and anxiety, and the reason for that is you grow up as a child believing everything in your own little world and people tell you things, and then suddenly you're 21, you're out there, you're on your own, and things change really quickly. I have a couple of friends who, when they tell me some bad news, something that's going to be quite big, they'll often let me freak out for about half an hour, and then after about an hour or so I'll come back to them and say, "I'm sorry about the way I acted, thank you for being so understanding." It can be something that can be quite crippling, so you've got to be quite patient when it comes to changes. Now, in the last few years, things have gotten a little bit better for me. I've met a great group of friends, some of which are on the spectrum as well, and even one or two do some stuff for autistic charities, which is something that I definitely encourage. I'm now nearing 30. I don't know what my future's going to hold, but as long as I just keep doing what I'm doing and I enjoy myself while I'm doing it, that's going to be the best way forward, I think. Obviously things aren't going to stay the same forever, because that doesn't happen, and I'm going to have to come to terms with that. But at the moment where I am right now, yeah, I could say I'm happy. I hope you've enjoyed this little video I've done. If you want to ask me any questions about Asperger's or autism or anything involving ASD, pop it in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. If you want me to do a few more videos on Asperger's or autism, or if you have a family member or you are yourself autistic and would like some advice, then feel free to ask and I'll see what I can do as well. But for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you again next time.